What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the House of Kayfabe. If you're one of our new viewers off of our last really big episode, welcome. You may think that it's just Stephen P. New, and he is here, but he can't be here all the time because these corporations are not going to sue themselves. What the House of Kayfabe is a collective of 7 good buddies that get together, and Stephen P. New just happens to be one of our good buddies and our money mark. But thank you all for coming to the channel. This is what you will see also on the channel. I have got with me the best damn independent announcer on the scene today, Adam Harris. I have the trial chief, a man so famous they named a river after him, Stephen P. New. And I have the resident Florida man of the House of Kayfabe, who was actually at the Royal Rumble last night. Brian, we have boots on the ground. Give us a little picture of what you saw last night.
Well, last night was amazing. First of all, it's a bucket list thing for me to actually attend the Royal Rumble, so I was extremely excited about that. I got to knock off WrestleMania off my bucket list at WrestleMania 30, and now the 2024 Royal Rumble has brought another bucket list check off for me. It was great. 48,044 people, made for quite the fun traffic experience on the way there, especially when Gasparilla was going on in the neighboring town, which draws about 40,000 people as well. So we had a lot of people on the road trying to get into Clearwater at that time, but it was all right. We parked about 3 blocks away, and we got there really early, which was great for me because they had the Royal Rumble Superstore opened, and I had never been to an event where the Superstore was actually open. Steve, have you experienced the Superstore before?
Yeah, in 2018, I did 3 out of the 4 big pay-per-views in 2018. I did the Royal Rumble in Philadelphia, Mania in New Orleans, Survivor Series in Brooklyn that year, and then the following year, Mania in New Jersey. And so, yeah, at those 4, the Superstore was open, and it's unlike anything you've ever seen.
It really is. I really enjoyed the Superstore. Everybody knows I'm obviously a collector of sorts, and being a collector, I got to see a lot of things that I wouldn't normally see, and also seeing the belt store, having all of those belts up there. The guy that I went with, David Tyree, he was like, I've got to buy a belt. He was like, which one should I buy? And I couldn't tell him to buy any of those belts except for the Andre the Giant belt. So he got the Andre the Giant belt, which not necessarily was the greatest idea to get at the beginning of this 4-hour-long pay-per-view. You gotta walk around with the largest.
You don't want to be an adult male at a wrestling show.
Somebody might ask you to defend it.
That's what I'm saying. If you bring a belt, you better defend it. So let's get into the actual pay-per-view, and probably Adam Harris is about to do some defending because our first match right out of the box was the Women's Royal Rumble match. Now, Adam Harris, of course, is the resident lover of all things women's wrestling. Adam Harris, there was a match.
It became immediately evident. I can't remember who it was, but like just throwing somebody over the top rope is difficult for some of these girls just because they're of the size, and like you just can't get around that. So they got to be creative. But, I thought this was really well done, really well booked. Are there going to be some botches? Yes. Are they going to be super careful because they're crammed in there like sardines for a minute? And it's like at one point, I was like, man, finally Damage Control is in here. Maybe they can start eliminating some people because you can literally do nothing. I think who had the best showing? I thought we were all semi-surprised to see Naomi, but seeing Jordan Grace up here was huge. And my whole body glitched a little bit when Cole said the TNA Knockouts
That was
champion.
weird.
Wow. Wow. I mean, even when Mickie James did it, they mentioned it and everything like that. But to see the title on television, man, it was just for those of us who grew up in the days when they blurred the NWA title when Flair brought it in, that was pretty amazing. And I thought they did a great job of making Jordan Grace look strong. Even in elimination, they made her look really strong.
I'll say Jordan Grace doesn't need anyone to make her look strong. She comes through and you're like, holy shit, is that a human?
Were you along the entrance ramp, Brian? Is that where you were?
I was not. I was kind of in the middle there,
Okay.
right behind the ring side section of seats. So I wasn't near the entrance. Actually, it was funny. In the entrance ramp, the only person I could see walking to the ring was Omos the entire time.
Wow.
I could not see anyone.
And the reason for that, this was Houston. I was in Houston in January of 20 for the Royal Rumble when Edge came back and McIntyre put Lesnar out. And I saw the same thing. Brian confirmed this at the Trop. What we saw was the big angled entrance, correct?
Yeah.
And it was more or less level and not ramped, correct?
It was definitely level, and I mean everything was very level on the floor when you're at a baseball stadium like that. It's set up.
Yeah, at Minute Maid Field in Houston, it was the same way. You know, Edge's music hits, and I had pretty good seats because I wasn't planning on going to the Royal Rumble in Houston at a trial down there. Just happened to start the day after the Royal Rumble, but Edge's music hits loudest, one of the loudest pops I've ever heard, and it was a long time around that angle before you actually saw him and the other superstars appear.
So Brian, what was the reaction? I want to hear what the reaction was for Jordan Grace. Like, was that audible or was it like a who's that?
The reaction was huge. Everyone knew who Jordan Grace was. The reaction was absolutely huge. I would say the only person who got a bigger reaction in the women's Royal Rumble was Jade Cargill. When Jade Cargill came out, the place went insane, absolutely insane.
Well, since we've already heard from Baghdad Bob, otherwise known as Adam Harris, let's talk about some of the few things. Look it up, kids. A few things. Steve gets it. Okay, real quick. Baghdad Bob was the press secretary for Iraq during the invasion, and we would see on CNN the place was, becoming a parking
blowing
lot.
Up.
And every day he'd come out and be like, "The Iraqis are still winning. We're fine." Exalted
We
to
have
the great
killed
leader.
millions of American soldiers today.
Yeah, that's what he'd say. So anyway, Brian, you were there. Something happened strange when 28 hit. Look, the crowd was dead. I'm going to do my burial in a minute. The crowd was so dead during this fucking match that one guy in 48,000 people said something very loudly, and it was audible on the television to the point that Michael Cole had to mention it. That's how dead this place was. But when 28 came up, these people been on their hands all night, and how could they not be? But the crowd went crazy. Was the scuttlebutt on the ground that Jade Cargill was coming out 28? How did the crowd know she was coming?
I don't know that the crowd necessarily knew that she was coming, and I am not familiar with what you're talking about, like the guy screaming out while everybody was dead. I don't think that I actually got to hear that. He must have not been anywhere near me.
Well, I mean,
you would hear it on the broadcast.
You'd heard it on the broadcast.
Back, you'll hear
it was the match was going on. We've got 18 wrestlers being loud on the stage. No one was talking out on the crowd. It was so dead. And one person just said,
"I don't know. We need
really
to look that
loud.
up. Let me see if I can figure out what he said."
Yeah, but I think Jade Cargill was probably the highlight. I will give you this before I do the burial, because I think this was the worst wrestling match I've ever seen. To call this a wrestling match is stretching the definition of what a wrestling match is. Every spot was either 17 feet off and it was all air, or it was a fucking botch that almost injured someone. My wife is going to be talked about a lot, for me anyway, because even she said, are they all mad at Bailey because they keep stiffing the shit out of her?
Bailey took every big bump in that match, including the unenviable task of trying to make Maxine Dupree look good. Man, that was rough night for old Dupree.
I can't believe this was a match. It should have been about 10 less participants. Look,
Bailey is a national treasure, and they should be protecting her at all costs. And
every
she took some
bad move
bumps.
she took, one move was one girl picked up another girl and was supposed to give her a splash, and she just went went both knees on her chest, just smoked Bailey. Dude, look, softball does not play 9 innings. Women's basketball does not play 60 minutes. We do not need 30 women in the fucking Royal Rumble for
You
an
didn't
event
have 30
that's 5
women.
years old.
Truth was the best part of this battle royal.
Yes.
He was
Our
31.
Truth, who almost got run over by a deer, was the best part of the women's battle royal.
Dude, I couldn't believe that this hurt my feelings. It was so bad. I couldn't believe it. This was something you would have seen at the Ona Firehouse on a Thursday night. Look, I am sorry that you don't have enough female participants for this. You've got 6, 7 people in that fucking whole match that could work at all. But I'll give you one, and I'm going to give it back to Baghdad Bob. I think that the number one part of this whole thing is no one takes a beating as hilariously and as great as Chelsea Green. Adam.
Yeah, really. We've all been able to see how great Chelsea truly is. She was fantastic. I don't know what else you have to say other than she took more crazy bumps than Bailey. She took everybody's stuff, including, I think, when Nia Jax picked up Piper Niven. You got to go back and watch that because that is not what they had in mind. It cannot be what they had planned. And I'm surprised that somebody didn't get hurt. And, you know, what is the line, Barker? Do not do the things you should not do. Or you
Do
don't know
not
how to
do shit that you don't know how to do.
Oh,
I posit this conspiracy theory. I think that the Botchamania guy paid someone and said, I don't really want to work for this next episode. Can you just give me a whole match? I can just play it uninterrupted, and then I'll put in some fucking graphics and the Bart Simpson meme.
I have an idea. If you're going to go with 30, do it Crockett Cup style and invite 10 or 15 other girls from other promotions and make it this. Don't stop at just TNA. And apparently Triple H doesn't like the word forbidden door. He's got bigger problems at the moment than the word forbidden door.
That does involve forbidden door stuff.
Right. But anyway, if you want to have 30, then bring them from all around the world, at least extend the invitations, and make it an invitational. And if it ends up being 20, have it be 20. But something has to be done. I don't know who booked this. I don't know who scripted this out. But
Jason Jordan was on the team.
That?
Jason Jordan was on the team. I read that earlier.
Well,
That's a fireable offense.
It gets less people over than it does get over. When you have so many people in there, this does nothing to get them over. You know, you can make a few people, a handful of people. It's always been that with the Royal Rumble. You know, you're going to have the people who are just there to get thrown out, and you're going to have those handful maybe of people who get made.
But even still, there can be Royal Rumble moments.
For sure.
What's his name getting out? Cobra. It within a matter of seconds.
Santino.
Right. All of the streaks, all of the everything that goes with it. Kofi's handstands, and all of that will live forever as Royal Rumble moments. This event, I saw the first one. Ronda Rousey came out, and they brought a lot of legends back because they had to bring the Kellys back. And I don't know how many girls there were in the ring in Philadelphia in 2018. It doesn't seem like there were 30, but even if it were fewer numbers, they'd bring a lot of legends back that night just to get to the requisite number. There were people out that night that you hadn't heard from or seen from in years. There's probably a way to book this, not the way that it was booked last night.
So I would just want to say, I will defend it to say at least this year they did not have to go back to the legends. I would rather see some NXT talent like Roxanne Perez and Tiffany Stratton than I would see Molly Holly, no offense, or Kelly or whoever it is. And so that's the one thing. My final compliment will be that at least they didn't have to rely on the legends. I do agree that it would have been cool to reach out even further, but I mean, I think the TNA partnership is just like that's huge for the business.
So the Women's Royal Rumble match was produced by TJ Wilson, Kenny Dykstra, and Jason Jordan.
It shows.
Dykstra.
It shows.
Fire
They
them
need
all.
they need a remedial lesson. You take them to the back and you sit them down with Paul Heyman and Paul Ellering, and you make them study tape with those two gentlemen for an hour.
So I am not going to deny that between the entrants, it was very dead in the crowd. I will definitely say that was true. There was a lot of silence, but I will tell you that the pops for the entrance were a lot bigger in the Women's Royal Rumble than they were in the Men's Royal Rumble. I will say that, you know, I didn't watch it on TV until right before we recorded here, and watching it on TV, it was pretty dragging. However,
How could it not be? Those girls were in there fucking either not touching each other, botching, or flat out hurting each other.
Sure.
What was there to get up behind?
Live, it was a more of an exciting match. I will
Everything's
say
better live.
it was a lot better live, and that end piece with Jade Cargill and Liv and Bailey was great. The finish was great. Everyone was extremely excited about Bailey winning. I mean, I know that before the match even started, they were chanting Bailey. So the crowd was extremely behind Bailey. The crowd went nuts for Naomi too. Naomi coming back, I guess a lot of it has to do with her being from Clearwater and the fact that she came back in Clearwater, Florida. But man, when her music hit, the place went nuts for sure too. That was really close to Jade Cargill's pop as well. And Jade Cargill was definitely the highlight of that Royal Rumble. But for me, the best part of the Women's Royal Rumble was Jordan Grace. Even though R-Truth was hilarious, even though Piper Niven did a great job, there were a lot of cool. I think Nia Jax had the strongest showing that she's ever had in any match ever in the history of her existence.
That's a low bar. That is a low.
It's a low bar, but
No one went to the hospital.
She did better than she's ever done. So there were some high points of this, but to me, there was no high point higher than Jordan Grace, just because I am the biggest Jordan Grace fan that you could possibly be. And seeing her come out made me feel like my friend just did something cool, even though she's not my friend.
And she is the nicest young lady. Y'all remember when we met her at WrestleCade a couple of years ago?
Absolutely.
I was backstage getting ready to walk out and introduce the ASW champion in the ring, and met her for the first time. And just the nicest young lady that you ever want to meet.
I've got a really quick Jordan Grace, and I want to go to Adam to sum up, because Bailey did win on top of all this. Me and Matt Mullins, another person's on the House Kayfabe. So real quick, me and Matt were at WrestleCade, and Brian had completely done the pirate move of taking over a shady back room of this convention center so we could independently and with no one's authorization run a pirate bootleg podcast in the middle of WrestleCade, and me and Matt were tasked with to go find the talent. And if you go back 2 years ago, we got a bunch of videos where we did get the talent. Well, I go to Jordan Grace, I get my picture taken with her, and we say, "Hey, would you like to be on our podcast?" And she's super gracious, and she said, "Of course I would. Where do I go?" And Matt's like, "Back there in that back alley of this convention center where there's no one and it's darkly lit, and there's a gigantic podcaster back there with a microphone," and she you know,
just didn't want to
said
go.
no.
So not as if Jordan couldn't have handled herself.
Yeah, really.
She may just not have wanted to have.
She didn't need the promotion that bad. I don't
She didn't want to whip somebody in some back room of the convention center in Winston-Salem.
Well,
So Adam, I thought Jade Cargill should have won. I think it would have been more shocking. You know, me and you, of course, I think are the two biggest Bailey fans on this channel. It had to be her because she hadn't won one yet, right?
That's right. She hadn't won the Royal Rumble. She's won almost everything there is to win in WWE. And they mentioned And this is hard to believe, but they said she's never had a singles WrestleMania match. And to me, that's a better build than Jade Cargill. And you're putting a lot of pressure on that Mania match, having Cargill go over in the Rumble. Meanwhile, they did a great job of building her. She still seems unstoppable. And yet, just like Jordynne Grace, left completely more over than they would have, maybe even if they'd won, Jordynne Grace had an awesome match with Kira Hogan that year at WrestleCade. I don't know if any of y'all saw her actually wrestle.
So yes, we have now simped for Jordynne Grace enough. The Women's Royal Rumble. It was definitely a thing. It was a thing.
I want to say one more thing about the Trinity thing, because she is from Florida for sure. But I mean, it's only appropriate that she basically left the biggest company in the world based on Vince's booking. And the week that we get this story and Vince leaves the company is the week she makes that triumphant return. That can't be lost on everybody in the crowd there.
Hey, we're a wrestling podcast, and we'll get that Vince shit in somehow. We got to get that algorithm some way. So Bayley wins the Royal Rumble match. It was a thing that definitely happened. It existed in a time and a space, and neutrons and electrons just kind of bounced around into each other there. And then we go into the next match, which was a strangely placed on the card match, but I think I know why they did it. We've got our fatal 4-way. We got Roman Reigns. We got LA Knight. Yeah. We've got Randy Orton on a wonderful comeback run. It's a really feel good thing, I think. And of course, everyone's favorite son who just will never get where we want him to go, AJ Styles. Steve New, I know you have a unique perspective on the bloodline right now in the year of our Lord 2024.
I've loved the bloodline. I've loved Roman up to this point. There's only so many solo interference finishes you can watch. Dusty Rhodes is my favorite wrestler of all time. There were only so many Dusty finishes you could watch before you grew tired of them. As much as I love Dusty, there were only so many of those finishes you could watch without growing tired of them. I am sick and tired of the solo thumb up his butt interference finishes for Roman Reigns matches. I know that Roman was never going to lose this fatal 4-way match. I wasn't sure, and I was talking with my buddies, who's going to take the pin, who has to take the pin in this match, who can take it without, looking weak or, losing some momentum or something like that. But man, I'm just so sick of those finishes, and I don't know. I think the bloodline's run its course. The match itself, I mean, man, you got 4 Hall of Famers. Well, 3 Hall of Famers, 3 for sure Hall of Famers. I don't know if LA Knight's got enough runway left to be a Hall of Famer, but he sure is hot right now, So that was my take on it. I mean, I would think it would be hard for these 4 guys to have a bad match, to be quite honest with you. And it was a really, really good match. Those RKOs that Randy hit off of everybody coming from everywhere, that's as good as anything that I've seen.
Very well booked.
And it did not look contrived. Everybody got their stuff in without it looking like they were trying real hard. That's what 4 pros can do. It wouldn't shock me. Those 4 guys could have called that in the ring for all we know, but everybody got their stuff in without it looking like they were trying to get their stuff in. That's how you do it, folks.
Brian, as our man in theater, who had the biggest pop of those 4?
LA Knight.
Wow.
LA Knight had the biggest pop of all 4, but we'll start by saying, this match was produced by Michael PSA's. So this was a Michael PSA's production, and this match, it's interesting because you kind of started with where I was going, because I was going to say that no one in this match was disliked. Like, everyone had fans. Every single one of these participants had fans. And that isn't always the case. Usually it leans one side, one way.
And it's not always a good thing.
No, it's not always a good thing, but in this match, it really was. And you could see that people were really behind Randy because he's coming back and everybody, you want to love Randy. And then AJ Styles, of course, who can dislike AJ Styles, who is, arguably one of the best in the world to ever do this sport whatsoever. So you can't really boo AJ Styles. And then LA Knight, of course, is super hot. And then there comes the Roman fans. Now, the Roman fans can all be seen because every time that Roman does anything, they hold up the one. And you see them, and they are everywhere. You know who they are. However, they are less than they were. And the reason why is because Roman is in his Triple H Evolution run. That is where he's at. Because when Triple H was the world champion, and Evolution was going on, everyone was so tired of him being the champion. Like, it had been so long, and this one has been way longer than what Triple H did in Evolution. But there was a reason why they kept it on Triple H, because it was where it belonged. And right now, this title, whether you're tired of it, whether the people are tired of it, whether the bloodline's crumbling around him still holding on to that belt and still pressing on is still a solid storyline, despite the fact of how long it has went, because Roman just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. See, the thing with Roman is, usually the WWE uses that formula. Okay, here's a guy. Oh, you don't like him. Okay, we'll turn him heel. Oh, now you like him. Okay, we'll turn him face. Well, they didn't do that process with Roman. They were like, oh, here's Roman. You don't like him. Fuck you. Here, keep taking him. You like him? No, you don't? Okay, here, keep liking him. Here, he's the face. He's the one. He's John Cena. He's all these things. And people are like, no, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not. So
would you say that Vince McMahon has a history of forcing things on people?
I would. But you finally get to the point where, okay, we've got to turn this guy heel. They turn him heel, and it works. The exact same formula that's worked on every single big, huge star ever. It works, and now everybody likes him, and you can't turn him face because you did that for 9 years, and it didn't work.
And understand, it's not that I don't like Roman. It's not that I don't want him to get to September the 11th of this year and eclipse Hogan's mark. He's never going to catch Bruno. He's never going to catch Cena and Flair in terms of numbers of titles, unless you did something stupid like a monthly lose it, get it back until he gets to 16 or 17. I don't have a problem with Roman, but doggone it, somebody get more creative with the finishes, because I'm sick of seeing Rikishi Jr. out there with his bleached blonde mohawk and his thumb up his butt.
No, I get that. I've never really understood the fear of Solo and why we're trying to make Solo this enforcer when he's like the shortest guy of the crew, and he's not. I've never really been big on the whole push on Solo. However, he's the one that's left. Jimmy's not doing a whole lot. There's a lot about the bloodline that could change to make this story fresh again. We may see the whole thing crumble eventually, and maybe that's when he finally loses the belt, is when the whole thing crumbles around him. But I still feel like we have more story here, and I'm still behind it.
So, Adam, I think you are probably the best at understanding psychology here at the House of Kayfabe. So I'm going to ask you this.
I was defending this in the chat, wasn't I?
No, not at all. I'm going to ask you this. I think you're going to answer it wonderfully. This match was made to keep 4 men over. One biggest over. We've got one on the come up. We have a returning legend. And again, we have a legend that still hasn't gotten there in the WWE. Did this match do its job?
I think so. I mean, I can't see how you would have done it better. You never, if I remember right, and I haven't watched it twice, but Roman never kicked out of anything. So meanwhile, he's not taking a pin. Gets every pin broken up. He took everybody's finisher. He took the, what's LA Knight's called?
He kicked out of the stack.
But everybody kicked out of the stack.
Sure,
and he wasn't on the bottom either. He was not the bottom of the stack. And they kept saying everybody
Randy
kicked out
was
of
the bottom of that stack.
Well, and that spot was, I don't know, but I guess he had said something about them stacking up, so I guess he had to fulfill that. But I don't know. What do you think? I mean, Brian, in the house, was everybody over? I mean, everybody got their spots in, right? You saw
Everybody
AJ get their
over.
spots in. You saw
Every single person was over.
blunt force trauma. You know, Roman took it, man. And I thought
Roman took the AJ move that he doesn't even use that much anymore.
Dude, could you see how careful AJ was being with the $1 million champion right there?
Yeah,
He was
right.
like, Tara, this is a tutorial on how to apply a move.
AJ was holding him
that
like his life depended on it.
You got him right.
Jesus, I was sitting there going, "Oh man!" And you can tell Roman hasn't probably taken too many of those, if ever, taken the Styles Clash. I mean, I guess they had to.
Oh, he didn't know what was going on.
He had no idea.
About as familiar with that as a TNA kick.
But every single person in this match was definitely over, and it was funny. The crowd that I was sitting in, everybody around me wanted somebody different to win. Everyone was behind
what's beautiful
somebody.
about this.
And it was a really good move to make this a fatal four-way. And if you know anything about wrestling, period, you know that fatal four-ways are not usually the best matches.
No.
Right.
And this one was really
was the match of the night, hands down. Like I said, you got three surefire Hall of Famers and LA Knight, who I love. I've always loved LA Knight, and
he could win next year. He could certainly win the Rumble next year.
This was a great match. It was not my favorite match. My favorite match comes to the end for the men's Royal Rumble, but this was a good one. Everyone stayed strong throughout the match, and I'm really curious of where this leaves LA Knight, because LA Knight's got to do something, and it's not going to be go to WrestleMania. So what are you going to get him involved in that's going to keep him hot? And I'm thinking, I have a
thought.
Okay.
LA Knight versus Gunther for the U.S. title at WrestleMania.
Intercontinental.
Right. Intercontinental. My apologies.
That's a long road.
I don't think I would feed him to Gunther. I would probably push him toward Logan Paul before I'd push him toward Gunther, because those promos would be awesome.
All right, U.S. title, take it off of Paul. I still like the Gunther match. And I think the only way maybe that you ramp Gunther up for a world title run is to pull the Intercontinental belt off of him.
Right.
So we're not there. We're skipping chapters. So this match done everything that it was going to do, or it needed to do. Everyone knew who was going to win. I have always enjoyed the fact that, and when I say this, I'm specifically talking about the Drew McIntyre match at the Castle. So many times when there isn't a run in, because he has had a few of those as well, he's always been able to make you believe, holy shit, this is it. I thought that Drew was going to win at the Castle. There's a couple of those Brock Lesnar ones, like, oh shit, Brock's going to finally win. He's kind of run out, and I'm the other resident old head in this place, and I saw the Dusty finish live. I've seen the Dusty finish many times, as long as with Steve, and it does lose its appeal, and you start not being outraged or confused. You start rolling your eyes, and I'm wondering. And Brian, you're right; they're going to keep it on him, and he's going to pull it off, but the backlash has to come, right? The Super Cena thing has to happen eventually with Roman Reigns, right?
You would think, yeah. I believe it'll eventually happen, but I think it's going to happen when he's ready to leave.
Fair enough. So there you go. Roman Reigns, still the number one, and is definitely going to hold that belt until he beats Hogan's championship. Now, this leads me to, except for the last 5 minutes of the men's Rumble, my favorite match of the night, because I love Kevin Owens. I have every reason to hate Logan Paul. This guy ripped off children on a crypto scam. This man is being, his prime is being investigated by the FDA. This man is a fucking criminal adjacent, horrendous Instagram influencer person. But God damn it, he might end up being one of the all-time greats, because this kid gets it. Better, not better, but if you say like MJF is a prodigy, Logan Paul's right beside of him. I'm sorry. Adam, is that too much?
He's a sponge, man. I mean, it seems like he's just like, yeah, he's a natural.
Let me qualify that. he's living the crypto lifestyle right now, right? When he pays the dues, I'm a big believer in paying your dues. When he pays the dues, when he works the house shows, when he does all of the things required to pay your dues, then I'll say he's a prodigy like MJF is a prodigy.
So
Until that,
what Steve is saying is he will never say that about Logan Paul, ever. Because Logan Paul's never going to pay his dues. He's never going to do house shows. He's never going to.
I think he might. I think he might.
Then to me, he's Bad Bunny.
Well, oh, stop it.
No, he's Bad Bunny. If he ain't going to go out and wrestle in Corbin, Kentucky on a Thursday night,
just like a doctorate in juristness or whatever the fuck it is you call, you think accreditation is everything. I don't need that motherfucker to wrestle every night because I don't care about his hustle. I see the matches. And of course, he was wrestling one of the best in the business. But, dude, every match has been goddamn amazing.
I'm not saying that the product hasn't been good.
So it just goes to accreditation.
Pat McAfee has had good matches because Pat McAfee was a world-class athlete. Okay? But I am not going to put Logan Paul in a category with Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
So, Brian, you are boots on the ground. What's the crowd like? Are they? There's got to be Logan fans there. No. This motherfucker's one of the most popular people on YouTube on the world.
There may have been Logan Paul fans there, but they were hiding because this man got Dominic Mysterio style boos. Like, wow, they were not into Logan Paul whatsoever, and they were huge into Kevin Owens. So we definitely seen a lot of boos for Mr. Logan Paul. But man, he was great. You were right. The match was fantastic. The crowd was pretty much on their feet for the whole thing.
I did not know that Kevin Owens has never been superplexed. Who knew that was going to be a significant streak that we'd be talking about from commentary? And let's leer off here for just a second. Commentary. We didn't talk about it. Our boy,
Pat McAfee.
The man who is a fellow alumnus of WVU with our own Stephen P. New. Let's go, Pat McAfee. Brian, did Pat McAfee get one of the biggest pops of the night?
Biggest pop of the night twice. We'll talk about the second one a little bit later, but yes, he was majorly over in that arena for sure.
He's the best. And I know Stephen P. New shit on Michael Cole last night in the chat. I think Michael Cole, since Vince McMahon is gone, has been great.
Kaiser is on a roll. Boy, that is Gordon Soley and J.R. Ross.
No, that's Jerry the King Lawler, and you better put some respect on his name.
Not even the King.
That's as bad as something the King would say. Adam, Michael Cole's doing great, right?
I think so, yeah. I mean, they've clearly the cuffs are off on Michael Cole. He's standing up over there all the time. They got a camera on him now, and they're posting it to YouTube, and it gets millions of views. Just Cole's reaction to stuff, you know.
Who's got a huge pop from the crowd there? 44 people.
Michael Cole.
Michael Cole. When Michael Cole's music hit, that place went nuts. And
Cole has music.
He has music.
Yeah, they do that right before the event goes live. They bring out all of the announcers, and you get to see them. That's when the first. I think they did the Pat McAfee entrance on the Royal Rumble. Correct?
Yeah, they did definitely. Yeah.
Michael Cole and Corey Graves had their entrance before the show went live, and Michael Cole's music hit, and Michael Cole came up on the screen, and everybody went nuts.
Dude, he's great. He's been doing this too long to not be good at it. There was this, and I've said this on the channel before, and if you like what we're doing, go back. We've got some evergreen content back there for you. Michael Cole, there was a pay-per-view special live event in Japan. It's called The Beast Goes to the East. And we knew that Vince McMahon stayed home. So he wasn't in Michael Cole's ear. And this is right in the middle of, Vince McMahon using him as a fucking meat puppet. and go back and watch his commentary. He knows the history. He was talking about Japanese wrestling. He was doing a better version of what Sockface does. It just wasn't cringe. So that's enough of us getting Michael Cole over.
Well,
Steve knew this ending of this match talked to our NWA
Yes.
hearts. Steve
Perfect finish.
Tell the kids out there ways that you could get disqualified and still get over.
Oh man, somebody accidentally bumps a referee. Tommy Young goes down. You take the manager's cane or tennis racket or telephone, and you pop the face. You throw said item back out of the ring. You pick the referee up. 1, 2, 3. That's it. In this case, you have a couple of jabronis come out with a pair of brass knucks. All right. I'm with you. They slide said brass knucks to Logan Paul. And then you have the tussle. The face ends up with the pair of brass knucks. The face clocks Logan Paul. And I've seen this meme go around. You guys called it real time. When did the ref ever have eyeballs? When did a referee?
Yeah.
Owens has him around the leg, and you see the pair of brass knucks right in the referee's face. And the referee's just there looking. And so, I submit that Owens couldn't get them stuck back down in his trunks for the belly. But be that as it may, whatever it was that prohibited
everything has a reason.
I think the reason
Makes
was
sense.
he knew he couldn't get past his belly and into his waistband with the brass knucks. It was a great old school finish.
It was beautiful, and it was beautifully done. It was beautifully shot, which is what's going to bring me to Brian Resner. We know that the cameramen are smart, so they know what to shoot, and it came off perfectly on my 70-inch television. Now, Brian live in front of 48,000 people he still got the brass knuckles on his hands and he gets caught. Was that conveyed as easily and as well as on TV?
Absolutely, because there were giant TVs everywhere. So it's easy for everybody to know exactly what was going on. And one thing I want to talk about is the jabronis. So
Jeff?
It
was Jeff.
What?
Jeff was the guy. Did y'all not watch it? Well, you weren't watching the commentary. Jeff in the white T-shirt.
No, Jeff was just there.
He was one of the guys that came out.
The brass knuckles were actually handed off by Grayson Waller and Austin Theory came and joined this situation, and they're the ones that actually passed off the brass knuckles. So it brings me to the question, do we see an allegiance starting there between Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, and Logan Paul? And if they do, Austin Theory just got the best ticket to actually being worth a fuck that he could have possibly got, because one, I'm a huge Grayson Waller guy. I love Grayson Waller. I think he is hilarious. I love what he did on that talk show. I don't know if you've seen that. He was on that talk show and he almost kicked that dude's ass. And he was pissed off because they were trying to make a joke of wrestling. Grayson Waller is exactly what pro wrestling needs right now. I really love Grayson Waller. Him coming out with Austin Theory and then making an allegiance there with Logan Paul excites me for future things. But yes, it did get over with the fans. The fans were extremely behind that finish. It was a great finish to have. So I enjoyed the match a whole lot.
So one more thing and then we'll go on. Michael Cole, you're the greatest right now. We're one of the greatest right now. But you got to tell us who Jeff is. Jeff showed up. Just Jeff. Jeff in the white T-shirt. That's what he said. Jeff, and then he called him a flunky. So yeah, I guess Logan Paul flunky Jeff. That was not great. I love this match. I can't wait to see what Logan Paul does. I think he should have a long ass run with the belt. I think he can. When you get that kind of thermonuclear heat, because the thing about Logan Paul is it's not work heat. We don't fucking like you. We know your person. We know that you took pictures of fucking dead suicide victims in Japan. We have empirical evidence that you're a fucking shithead. And that means money, Brian Resner. That means money when people hate you like that.
Usually you're not the host of this show. Usually I am hosting the show when I'm on the show. So normally I put together a storyboard in my head and I take us there. Well, when I'm not in charge of the storyboard, I don't get to take us everywhere I want to take us. So I want to take us somewhere before we go into this last match, because we were talking about pops, and I wanted to start this show by talking about a particular pop. And it was a very weird pop. Is when everyone is there, we know the Royal Rumble is starting, the warning thing comes up on the screen, and the next person we see is the immortal Hulk Hogan. Yeah. So Hulk Hogan comes.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to get away from not talking about that guy.
Well, you can't, because he was on the screen, and as soon as he came on the screen, the audience split like it was election time in November.
Whoa.
And half of this crowd was booing the absolute shit out of Hulk Hogan, and the other half was cheering him like he was a god among men. And it was very interesting to watch how the wave of boos and cheers.
Which one was you?
So I was you. Look at behind me.
Look behind him.
Hulk Hogan guy, man. I grew up on Hulkamania, and I'm always gonna love. I mean, is he perfect? No. Does he say stupid stuff? Sure. I mean, what? There are
comment section. That is comment section, please. That is BRIANREZNOR.
Other than Stephen P. New, a lot of men over the age of 50 say some pretty questionable things. So I'm not going to. I mean, of course, I'm not going to say that he's a great guy for everything that he's ever done, but you know. Hating Hulk Hogan forever, that just don't work for me, brother.
The statements of Brian Resner are not necessarily indicative of everyone else in the House of Kayfabe. So now that we got that over with, now we're going to go to the main event, the reason that we're all here, the thing that is causing all of this. And I thought it was great. It ended great. I don't know about the winner. We're going to probably get there here in a second, but the men's Royal Rumble. Now, Adam, I want you to start out with, because, you know, our brother Matt's not here, and his biggest problem was we didn't get no member berries. We got no, and yes, I'm using bad language on purpose for effect. We got no member berries, no legends. Adam, good thing, bad thing? What do you think?
No, I think, dude, look, for fun, I went back and watched the 08 Royal Rumble, and they were grasping at straws in 08. It's the year that Cena came back, and he was it was later in there. I don't remember if it was number 30 or not. And it was him and Triple H. You know, remember being tired of Triple H, right? This is around when we were tired of Triple H. And Cena came back, and everyone was stoked to see Cena. But that Royal Rumble just drug on forever. And even though they had tons of great talent like CM Punk, I think it was Kofi's first or second Royal Rumble. And there's an amazing amount of people in that Royal Rumble that are still active today. They brought out Jimmy Snuka and Roddy Piper. And while it got a nice nostalgic pop from the audience, this was Madison Square Garden, you know, those guys looked awful and it was embarrassing, and we shouldn't do that to our legends. and there's just not that many of them around that I think I want to see. And they're trying to build stars now more than ever.
George South. Never happened.
Right? Absolutely. Or Skinner, right? You know, like
I mean, you don't, but think about that. In 08, Roddy Piper and Jimmy Snuka, born in the mid to late 50s,
yeah, would have been
some math. If they're born in 58, they'd have been my age. 50 or 52 guys. Now there are guys that can still go.
That's right.
At that age, you know, look at the guys that were in the latter part. My buddies and I were talking about this last night as we watched this. Damian Priest, AJ Styles, you know, all those guys, Finn Balor, all those guys over 40. Your best wrestlers in WWE right now are between the ages of probably 40 and 47.
But they're already there.
You can I submit to you, Adam Harris, as much as I love you, and you know that I do, I submit to you that you don't have to go back to the 80s or the 90s or even the early 2000s, but you could probably go from 05 to 15. Find somebody that people remember who's still in decent shape, who's
Cherry
still
Bomb.
I don't know what you're saying.
Cherry Bomb. with the Deuce and
Deuce and Domino.
yeah,
Oh.
their manager was Cherry Bomb. They could have
See,
brought Deuce and
right.
Domino back.
Guys, we bitch about The Rock coming back and taking somebody's spot or a part timer and this and that. To me, they need to be building legends. They've got a bunch of rights. They're trying to make Netflix worth watching.
The perfect pick would have been X-Pac. That was the rumor anyway that X-Pac was coming back. Well, X-Pac's in the best shape of his life.
Let me address that right now. All you stupid marks out there, every year now, for the last 3 years, there's been an Excel spreadsheet that gets leaked to the fucking dirt sheets, and it never is this thing. X-Pac was the only one on there on this year's Excel spreadsheet.
You're wrong.
Will you all please stop with that?
You are wrong.
No, I'm not.
You are. You know why
No.
this happened? Do you know why? You know why this happens every single year? Because one year it happened and it was right, and it said AJ Styles on it, and we got AJ Styles. So that's the year that it came out and it was right. And then from then on out, then people started coming out with fake ones every single year. But at one time, it was the real leak because we heard about AJ Styles before AJ Styles actually.
Well, the last 3 years has not even been close.
No.
One of the things that I loved about this is I'm a huge Gunther fan. And, the Royal Rumble is there to give you the WrestleMania main event, but it's also there to keep storylines going and to give us some new ones. Steve, dude, did you notice that Gunther chested up to about 4 different people, and each one of them was a huge pop? It was like, oh shit, I would love to see Gunther wrestle this guy. That always happens with Brock. Like the one I'm thinking of was when Brock Lesnar chested to Keith Lee at the Survivor Series. It was like, oh, this is some of the thing that I would like to see down the road. What we learned about from the universe is we want to see Gunther fight everybody.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep. We want to see Gunther fight as many people as we can, because he's a stud, because he knows how to have a great match. And I even loved his mic work with Seth Rollins last week. I thought, give that man a microphone more and, let him talk. And just as polite and Austrian and well-spoken as you might imagine than a man from Central Europe might be. And, oh, man, he's got a ton of upside. But you're right, Steve. Every time he came up on somebody, it seemed like everybody was just waiting with bated breath. Where does this go potentially in the future?
Well, I believe that this actual spot was a buildup. It was a buildup that they just kept together that didn't have an ending. They were like, okay, we're gonna put Gunther. He's gonna chest up with this guy, and everybody's gonna pop, and then he's gonna chest up with this guy, and everybody's gonna pop, and we're gonna keep building that up, and then Brock Lesnar will come out, and we will have the chest bump between them, and it'll be the big confrontation. Except for then Brock was pulled from this event, and I believe that Pat McAfee got his spot. Would you guys agree with
Yeah,
that?
it was obvious. Ray Charles could see that Pat McAfee had to come in there for Brock Lesnar.
Adam, a few things are changed at the Royal Rumble. This Royal Rumble and this pay-per-view in general, especially with Triple H's first promo, was the undercurrent. What undergirded what he was saying was, this is it. Vince is gone. It's just me. Let's move the fuck on. And in Royal Rumble, we had no legends, no surprises. Andrade was a bit of a surprise, but not really. If you're a dirt guy, we all knew he was coming.
Was he on the spreadsheet?
Good question.
Everybody knew Andrade was coming back.
But, it's like...
Was Brock on the spreadsheet?
Yeah, that's a good question. Where you got... y'all got me.
Sorry.
To cut this. Damn it. I had a good 2-part thing. Fuck.
Sorry.
On
the spreadsheet.
Oh, so yeah. Okay, I got it. So the Royal Rumble has always been known for cheap pops and legends coming back and surprises. We got none of those. Also, Adam, we did not get the Kofi Hope spot.
That's true.
I had a prediction. As soon as he came out in Air Jordans, and shorts that he doesn't normally have on, like boxing type shorts and Air Jordans, I said, he's going out early, and there will be nothing special about Kofi. And that is exactly what happened.
Were you looking for it, Adam? And
what did they do? I forget what the Kofi spot was. And of course we were looking for it. Yeah. I mean, I would just watch the 08 one where, it's like, that's when he started doing the spots, I think. So yeah.
Is that when he jumped onto the wall?
The
barricade. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
He went out with no fanfare, just straight thrown over.
I believe that his entrance was interesting because all of those people were in that flat that we were talking about, so you couldn't see who came out, and all you heard was Big E's voice. It's a new day, yes it is. So everybody went nuts. And then Kofi came out, and it was like,
that was one I was hoping for, was a Big E return, and I would have liked to have seen
coming out of the balloon whenever Kofi walked out. I didn't see him walk out, but I knew he came out because everybody was like, I was like,
another funny thing coming out of this match. Can I just comment on this real quick? Jimmy Uso being turned down by everybody in the match to team up with him was absolutely hilarious, to the point at any time a grown man as tough as Jimmy Uso is pouting about it and smacking the ring.
When he hit the mat, everybody in that crowd laughed. You could hear a laugh pop. And laugh pops are hard to do. Usually you get those from like a rock promo or something like that. But in the match, to have a laugh pop, he pulled that laugh pop off as soon as he hit that mat.
It was a beautiful thing with a great buildup.
Of course, a trailblazer in gender normative roles, R-Truth being the only man to compete in both the women's and the men's Royal Rumble. And again, R-Truth never wins.
Man.
He barely wrestles.
How hard?
And he gets, or Brian, what was the R? I keep wanting to say R. Kelly. R-Truth pop.
The R-Truth pop was huge. The R-Truth,
both times,
everything was great. Yeah, both times it was huge. But man, I'll tell you something that got a really big pop was when Miz and R-Truth did the signal from the Awesome Truth. That was a huge pop. But you know what got not a pop, but a oomph, was how hard Damian Priest socked Truth in the face when he came in. That did not look like a work punch.
Wow.
He plowed him with that shot. And it was like the shot heard around the arena. You heard everybody go, oh! I mean, it was
and of course, this is after we see in another Royal Rumble first, a hot tag. a hot tag into the John Cena fire up. And man, I wish he'd have hit that "You Can't See Me." I think if he would have hit that move, he would have blown the roof off the place.
Oh, standing there holding the tag rope, waiting for Nick or Tom Mysterio to tag him in the hot tag was just hilarious. And if you guys haven't seen the backstage, in between the Royal Rumbles, Truth is coming back from the women's, and Adam Pearce is waiting for him at Gorilla, and they just happen to have a camera there, and Pearce goes, what are you doing? And Truth goes, you told me to go out number 23. He said, first off, that's not your number, and secondly, I didn't tell you to go out during the women's Royal Rumble. And Pearce said, I'm going to get to the bottom of who told you this. And he yells for Nick, and Truth goes, Mysterio? And it's one of the funniest things that I've seen lately. I mean, I told my friends Gavin Ward and some others, the secret to being a great wrestler is you can take any gimmick that they give you and get it over. 24/7, 7-Eleven, I-95 championship. Truth gets it over.
It's the first.
Dusty
Little
Rhodes,
Jimmy.
Little Jimmy, man. I've used Little Jimmy. I still use that.
Jimmy over. But R-Truth can do it. And Dusty Rhodes, you can give him yellow polka dots, and he's going to get that over because he's the American dream, Dusty Rhodes. You can give Baron Corbin, You can make him a Hot Topic manager. You can make him sad Corbin. You can make him happy Corbin. You can make him in the money Corbin or the lone wolf, and he's going to suck.
Okay, I can.
Corbin does,
Because we do this kind of 4D chess here, and I'm going to set up Brian Resner. I'm going to give him the Iggy right here. I can go from R-Truth to Karrion Kross in just a few moves. R-Truth is not really a wrestler anymore. He rarely wrestles, and when he does, he usually loses. He's a comedy act. He is a fucking punchline, and this man is still over more than 3/4 of the whole fucking roster. Now, Karrion Kross has been given every fucking opportunity to get over. They get, hey, you've got the hottest chick in the WWE, and we're going to make it black and white, and she's going to sing. And this motherfucker can't get over. And Brian, it's your fault for pushing this guy.
Well, I don't think it's my fault. Actually, I have a theory. Have you ever read the Bible?
Yeah.
Okay, isn't Samson in the Bible and Delilah?
Are you making sure?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah. So,
ladies and gentlemen, once again, the views expressed by Brian Resner
right.
are not necessarily.
So anyway, the Delilah cuts off Samson's hair, and Samson is no longer Samson anymore. It doesn't work for him anymore, and he doesn't have his power back because he lost his hair. Take that story and reverse it, and that is the story of Karrion Kross. Shave your fucking head. You need the tactical look. You need to be the bald badass. That is what you need to be. And if you were, we wouldn't be having these conversations because you'd be over. Remember that time when you were over? Yeah, you were bald. So
well, Dusty Rhodes used to go to the ring in just a humble pair of black tights, and he went to the WWE, and they put fucking polka dots on him, and he got over. I hear you, but if Karrion Kross is being held down by hair, then he's probably not that fucking good.
I disagree. I think that Karrion is good. I've really enjoyed his stuff in Impact. You know what? When I was all about a man by the name of Eli Drake, I was also all about a man named Killer Kross. They were both on the same show, and they were doing amazing things. Now we've got both of those individuals in the WWE. You have potential to do amazing things with both of them. You give one of them the name of a early 90s shoe, and then you make the other one grow his hair out when he should be bald. But
have given him wins and a really in-depth entrance. R-Truth just comes and without an entrance, and it's still over. I hear you. I think Karrion Kross looked cooler when he was bald, but if all the things that he just did, the same gimmick, all the same matches, do you really think that's the difference between the crowd giving a shit about him if he does the exact same stuff that he's just done?
Another thing that I think is a bad move is making him the leader of a faction. I don't believe he is the leader of a faction. I believe he is the muscle of a faction. He's a Sid Vicious in the Four Horsemen. He's not the leader of a faction because he's taller than all those guys. It doesn't work, and I'm not really sure how they're going to, unless they're going to pull in two other guys and do a Dangerous Alliance type thing. I'm not sure how two managers is going to work either. Especially when you only got three guys and two managers, it doesn't really.
You have a manager and a valet.
Yeah, but you need more people. It needs to be a whole corporation if you're doing that.
What it really helps is if you're over. So, Adam, that helps. If you're over, you can do whatever the fuck you want to, like be a guy and go 24th in the women's wrestling match and fucking get a huge pop. Okay, so anyway, Adam Harris. What were what do you think the storylines, those side storylines before we get to our big one? Because we got to talk about the winner and we got to wrap this shit up, guys. Let's talk about what were some of the, where's Gunther going since he's chested up with the whole world and we have now agreed that we don't give a fuck who you wrestle. We just want it to happen. Where are we going with some of these other ones?
Well, I do have to say, in all honesty, and in the interest of fairness, around 11:05 is when I yawned for the first time.
Ouch.
And there were still 40 minutes of this pay-per-view to go from that point. So I don't know if I paid the closest attention to the men's rumble, maybe as much as I did to the women's, because that had been 3.5 hours ago. And so,
wrestling fan, Adam.
well, hey, listen.
Such a weird one.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm going to watch it back.
We love you for it, but it's weird.
I'm going to watch it back. But man, I was having a hard time staying awake.
Well, I can answer that question. I think we're going toward Drew McIntyre again. I believe that we're going to see Gunther and Drew McIntyre. I feel like that was the kind of way we were going, but maybe I'm wrong.
I was going to say McIntyre is definitely going to be one of the more interesting ones going out of this. That was definitely.
Well, he's got to get signed. His contract's up after WrestleMania. They're going to have to do something with him.
I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with Gunther now, because I know their plan had to have been Brock Lesnar, and now they're scrambling to figure out exactly which way they're going to go. One thing I want to add before we go into the final here is I was checking these entrants, and I was like, man, that does not feel like 90 seconds. So I started timing them.
Work.
Every single one of them. And I will tell you, I started timing at entrant number 10. After number 10 came, I hit my timer on every single one. None of them were the same.
No, that's never. Yeah.
There were some of them that were 45 seconds. Some of them were 90 seconds. Some of them were like a minute 50. That we had one that went 2 minutes and 30 seconds between the entrants. There nothing was clockwork. Nothing was actually done with an actual.
If you watch the very first Royal Rumble, and I think Bruce Pritchard even did a watch along, because it's like you can tell like somewhere towards the end they just start cranking them out. It's like every 30 seconds. So
it's pro wrestling. Even
you mean this isn't a legitimate sport?
It's pro wrestling. Even time is a work.
That's right. There's nothing you can't work.
41 years, 42 years I've watched this stuff, and now you tell me.
Yeah.
So we do have, we did kind of poo-poo on the fact that they didn't have any legends come, but we did have a very big, and I thought an impactful debut of our boy, our second generation. Braun Breaker came out, and they booked him like a beast. Braun Breaker came out and Ultimate Warriored, much better, by the way, a whole bunch of people. And guess what? He chested up to Gunther. And guess what? We want to see Gunther wrestle Braun Breaker. Brian Resner, this was in Florida. Everybody knows Braun Breaker there. Did the people lose their shit?
Yeah, they sure did. And I heard Steiner line chants, and it was he was over.
Which says a lot about how many people are watching NXT right now, because he's a heel teaming with Baron Corbin.
Okay, I didn't know that. Well, he looked like $1 million. And again, even if time is a work, I'm pretty sure that miles per hour is a work, because Michael Cole said that he runs 23 miles an hour off of the ropes. Now, Tyreek Hill is the fastest NFL player in the history of the sport, and he sometimes reaches 17 miles per hour. So we found out that Braun Breaker could be a top-notch wide receiver in the NFL. But Braun Breaker, I thought he came in, looked like $1 million, he got dumped pretty unceremoniously, but I think you can just see that, 5 years from now, when he's winning the Royal Rumble, you'll look back and like, hey, remember when he got dumped unceremoniously?
That him a bit. He's ready to come to the main roster, and he looks like $1 million.
He's a couple months too late, if you ask me. I mean, really, like he should have already came a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's nowhere for. We have a glut of talent at the top of the roster. If you just can't, Sheamus wasn't even here. And I don't know if Sheamus is hurt right now or not, but you think about I made this point on one of our podcasts a few months ago. All of the former world champions you have in the WWE right now, not to mention the guys who have never been a world champion, like LA Knight, like Gunther, like some others. So until that glut of talent on the upper end of the card gets cleared out, I don't know. I don't want Braun Breaker to be brought in and to start jobbing.
No,
to
you know what
some.
I would do if I had Braun Breaker is I would bring him up with a nice tag team partner. I would give him a nice tag team partner and a nice manager, and I would have him run a tag team program for probably a couple years.
That's literally what they're doing on NXT. I mean, he's not ready. I disagree with Brian. I don't think Braun should be on television yet. And I think
Ouch.
the last few months of NXT prove that. And they're putting him with Corbin, who you said can get over, even if it's not good, but he'll make the most of it. And so I think that's
In-ring,
kind of what they're
Corbin's
doing.
talented.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they're
He can't get over
doing.
on the mic. He can't get a gimmick over. He's solid as a rock in ring.
But I would like to see something like, like a manager come in and decide that he's going to build a tag team out of second generation wrestlers. Maybe take Braun Breaker and Lexus King, and have them.
I love that all of our ideas would fit beautifully in 1986,
1992.
and 1992, and 1997.
He just said we're going to reform the Dangerous Alliance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
the
gonna
varsity
Dangerous
club. You get these kids that went to college, and you remake a varsity club.
We're so fucking old. Okay, let's wrap this up. Let's get down to the meat of it. I think everybody thought one of two people were going to win. And the last 5 minutes of this was the highlight of the whole night because it's what we're building up to. And by the way, we build up to the biggest moment of the night with the World Championship match 2 matches before it. So it was, they were elevating this on purpose. We come down to, we got a lot of falderall and business happening all over the place, but we end up with who we knew we were going to end up with. We've got CM Punk. Sami Zayn returned too, by the way. But we got, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. I thought there's no way CM Punk is not winning this because I was under the assumption that The Rock was coming to fight Roman at WrestleMania. Brian Resner, where did you think this was going to land?
Well, I mean, I went in, of course, with my pick being CM Punk. I wanted CM Punk to win the Royal Rumble, and my second pick was Cody. So, to me, when it came down to Cody and CM Punk, I didn't have a problem with that at all. But I also had the dark horse of Gunther, because there was an idea that maybe Gunther would take the whole thing since his spot with Brock Lesnar was going to be canceled. So I knew that things had to change, but I did not see it going anywhere except for Cody, CM Punk, or Gunther. And when Gunther got tossed, then I really wasn't sure which way we were going, whether it was going to be Cody again or CM Punk. And there was always the thought in the back of my head that if Cody wins, it'll be the first time in over 20 years that somebody has won 2 back-to-back Royal Rumbles. So that may be something that they want to do. But I was still leaning towards CM Punk. And I think the crowd was evenly split, just like a November election. Cody had a lot of fans in that room, and CM Punk had a lot of fans in that room. And it was heartbreak across the arena when CM Punk couldn't pull it off.
Now, Brian Alvarez had a reporter on the ground, apparently, and he said that during this whole move, and this might be just him being biased, was the crowd quickly changed all the way to Cody, and Punk was getting booed predominantly.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
But no, I'm not going to say that everybody didn't switch to Cody. I think
It's a big stadium.
I believe that all the Punk fans were also Cody fans. I mean, just like I was. I mean, I'm a huge Cody fan. I'm a huge CM Punk fan. So it's like if you wanted CM Punk to win and then Cody wins, you're not upset. You didn't call it right, but now you're cheering for Cody. So yes, everybody did go to Cody when Cody won. The whole place was going nuts for Cody. Yes, but I didn't hear a single boo for CM Punk. I didn't hear anybody booing CM Punk. CM Punk got a huge pop when number 27 came up and his music hit. The whole place went nuts. Everybody was singing every word to his theme song. I mean, he was just like Cody. Cody was over huge when he came out. Huge pops. Everybody singing his song. Same thing with CM Punk. They had, I would say, very similar pops for one another, and having the two of them in the ring was amazing too. But one thing that we didn't talk about before we go to the very end of this, we should talk about the very beginning of this, when Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso both came out 1 and 2, were face to face. That was really incredible, and the pop from that was really incredible too.
Very cool way to start.
And any time that you can discredit one of Dave Meltzer's employees, you've done a good thing on YouTube. So good man, Brian.
Nice.
Adam,
Nice.
I'm going to ask you this.
Once again, low bar.
CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, which one do you have the most figures of?
Oh, geez. I have none of either one, I don't think, actually.
What?
No, I don't have. I have this. No,
Blew
I
my
have both.
spot.
I have the LJN ones that everybody hates. I have those AEW figures that everybody hates. The one I want, though, is the Cody Elite 100. But I mean, because that's a great figure. They both have great Supreme editions as well. But I hope this will give people a reason to tune in for our collectibles video, because Brian's going to go through some more of that superstore they had at the venue one of these days. We're going to post that on YouTube, too, and give you guys a glimpse, because it looked awesome. It looked like I could have spent a lot of time and money, more importantly, in that super show. But I mean, I don't know. As far as who I was pulling for, I'm on Cody, man. I mean, I think it makes sense to have him win 2 years in a row, just like Stone Cold did. It's the finish the story thing. You know, we were also sure that The Rock was taking his place, which I'm not too certain could still not happen. I could see Roman and Cody both wrestling both nights.
Or
you heard it here first.
Going after Seth Rollins. I think Cody's going to go after Seth Rollins. I don't believe that Cody.
No, he pointed at Roman.
He pointed at Roman Reigns.
Yeah, no, it's certifiably.
Seth was in that same.
No, what you didn't see is the camera zooming in on Roman Reigns holding his belt up.
It was
like
Roman
this.
Reigns
But,
doing this. Yeah,
guys, talk about a swerve.
I mean, that would be the way to swerve
Roman's standing there running his mouth, thinking Cody is pointing and jawing at him. If what Resner says is true, and I have no reason to doubt him, Rollins is in the next suite over.
He was.
Yeah, but Cody they framed it on TV like it was obviously he was talking to Roman Reigns.
Oh, because what people say on wrestling TV is real. So if tomorrow night
anything could change,
Cody comes out and says, Seth Rollins, I'm taking that world title off you. I'm finishing the story.
Nah, his story is with Roman Reigns. I think that's the way that you get CM Punk main event, because then CM Punk's going to wrestle Seth Rollins. There's no way that Stephen P. New's most famous client signed a fucking contract without at least a guarantee that I'm main eventing WrestleMania.
So do we have?
And I know you can't speak on that, Steve.
So do we have Rock versus Roman at Elimination Chamber?
I don't know. Because here's the thing, Steve.
I don't think so. I thought that at first, but I don't think so.
Steve, when does he break Hulk Hogan's record? Isn't it
September the 11th, 2024?
There's no way that he's not getting there. That's the problem, that if it is Cody with Roman, Cody's going to lose again. They did not come this long.
That's why I predict this is Cody. Somebody is going to face Roman to job. Now, that could be Punk.
Can you imagine what's going to happen when Roman Reigns passes Hulk Hogan? It's going to make September 11th live in infamy from then on.
Yeah, man. It's going to make that a very big day in our national
Once again,
conscience.
the views
we'll all be able to think about that.
Everyone will remember where they were on September 11th.
Not necessarily those expressed by the rest of us who have some sense on the House of Kayfabe. But Punk can job to Roman at WrestleMania and not lose anything. He has main evented WrestleMania at that point, which is something he's never done in his career. Cody needs the belt. Cody needs the belt, and it's not coming off of Roman. Right. So I could see Roman fighting Rock night 1, becoming the head of the table, fighting Punk night 2, beating Punk because Punk doesn't need the belt. And it won't be the main event on night 1, because the main event will be Cody versus Seth, and an unsuccessful cashing in the Money in the Bank by Damian Priest.
Boy, Brian Resner can't wait for Damian Priest to not have that suitcase.
I can't. I mean, really, it kind of makes me happy at this point, because I know that when Damian Priest won the Money in the Bank, I talked about how WWE was painting themselves in a corner that's going to be hard to walk out of. And that is exactly where we are. Damian Priest was the wrong choice. He should not be the Money in the Bank winner. He shouldn't be carrying that case around. And now the WWE is scrambling to figure out what the hell they're going to do with him having that case.
I'll tell you what, we've almost been an hour. And I'll tell you what, if you're still with us after an hour,
God bless you.
God bless you. And dating apps. Dating apps is where you want to go. Okay, so I want to leave you with one more question.
Human beings.
Yeah, touch grass.
Touch some grass.
Touch grass. So I want to leave you all each with this question, and it came from the scrum that Triple H did. And boy, did Triple H dodge those Vince McMahon questions like Neo in the Matrix. Holy shit.
Like George Bush at an Iraqi press conference.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But he did say something that I thought was very interesting, and I think he might be right. He said, quote, "We are hot as we were during the Attitude Era." It kind of feels that way. I want to go Adam, then Brian, and then Steve. Are we in a new Attitude Era type hype?
It's a new golden era, I think. We're in a height right now. And I think all the things are coming together. The UFC deal coming together, the TKO thing. They're about to go global. As we talked about in a previous episode, like going global is the smartest thing they can do. Get out of Corbin, Kentucky and get into Perth, Australia. All right. Make those shows count. Even though
they've got enough to do both.
That's true. It's true. And and I think especially, with Jade showing up, there's a lot to be told there. There's a lot of great feuds. With Cody, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, all these guys have been telling this story a long time, and we're all saying that now. And so I'm anxious to see. It's going to be a great WrestleMania, and I can't wait to see what they have. I'm just along for the ride, like a great wrestling fan. I might get sleepy towards the end.
So, Brian, you were there for the Attitude Era. You were there for when no one was watching WCW. Yep. Are we at another golden era? Is Trips your boy right?
Well, I will say I always like to agree with Triple H, but what I will say is, yes, it is a hot time for wrestling. Yes, the more money's being made than ever before, and more people are trying to get into it than ever before, and it's a hot time for wrestling. Is it the Attitude Era? Fuck no, it's not the Attitude Era. If it was the Attitude Era, it would be a whole different world of money. The fact that the Attitude Era did not have all the ways to make money, all the stuff was not in place for them to get the big contracts. It just kind of boom happened. And when it boom happened, they were huge, but they could only get as big as their tank. And once they got as big as their tank, there wasn't a lot more money that could be cranked out.
You couldn't grow the tank.
Right.
And between 95 and 2000, you couldn't grow the tank.
And that's what happened, was a bust. It was a bubble bust. And then all of a sudden it wasn't as hot as it was in the Attitude Era. And we've been reaching for that ever since, because now we know, with social media, with everyone having a supercomputer in their pocket, with the whole world being different and the way that money is exchanged and all of those things and advertisement, everything has changed completely since then. If you had the hotness of the Attitude Era right now, you'd be printing money at an exorbitant amount. It would be insane, the amount of money that could be made off of the amount of people that were paying attention to wrestling when Stone Cold Steve Austin and Generation X and NWO and all of that thing, the whole thing was going on.
Okay, so then because we represent all the generations of wrestling fans, we even got our own millennial. He just couldn't make it today. Imagine that. The old guys made the tech work, but the millennial didn't. Stephen P. New, are we in 1986 Jim Crockett Promotions?
It's hot. I mean, make no mistake about it. And the old saying is, a rising tide lifts all boats. Absolutely. This rising tide is going to lift all boats, because the NWA, TNA, and dare I say, if they can get their heads screwed on straight, even AEW will benefit. Sidebar for a moment. Tony Khan doesn't need to compete with WWE. I don't get up, and before we went on air, I don't compete with any other lawyers in the world. I compete with myself day in and day out. Am I better than I was yesterday? Tony Khan needs to get out of the headspace of competing with World Wrestling Entertainment. You are not a publicly traded corporation. You have not been around for 60 years. All you need to focus on, my friend, is be the best AEW that you can be. You don't have to take shots at WWE. You don't have to argue with stupid marks on Twitter. Just be the best company that you can be. And if more eyeballs get on the product, they're going to come to your product if it's worth a crap.
Okay, I can follow up with a great comment there. To be the man, you've got to beat the man that you were yesterday, every day.
This brought to you by New Law Associates. So I'm going to make mine real quick because football's about to start.
Yes.
I'm going to drop a bomb on you and I'm going to end the episode. Is it as popular and widespread as the Attitude Era? No. More money is being made, but I posit to you, I've never given a shit how much people make. I don't care that a millionaire or billionaire made a lot of money. It's the reason why I hated watching all the AEW memes about all the money Tony Khan made from Wembley Stadium. Like, motherfucker, do you have stock? What the fuck are you talking about? Look, we look at the Attitude Era with rose-colored glasses. The top of that card was some of the best shit we've ever seen. But I say go back and watch a Los Barriquas match and tell me if the quality is the same. From the top to the top of the card, from the bottom of the card, the WWE has never had as much talent ever. Attitude Era guys, I'm 46. I know. I was there. I was smashing beers over my head with my friends at pay-per-view parties. It was a charged atmosphere, but it wasn't as good as we thought it was. Remember, this is women's mud wrestling era of wrestling. And now we have 4 or 5 female wrestlers that are going to go on a Mount Rushmore at some point. So not only do I think it's better than the Attitude Era, I think it's way better than the Attitude Era from top to bottom. When that girlfriend that you broke up with, when you think back to her, you think about the good stuff. You think about that time you went to the A-frame cabin up in the building, but you don't remember that time she threw you out of your car on fucking Route 60. That's the problem with the Attitude Era. We look back and we think of like The Rock, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin, but I've got some other names for you. Los Barriquas and
Viano 5.
Viano 5. A lot of that shit was really, really bad. So I am so glad that wrestling's good because we started this podcast about 3.5 years ago and multiple people said that if this shit don't get any better, I'm going to quit watching wrestling. And now look at us. It's a good time to be alive, wrestling fans. Thank you all for watching. And if you liked all that, please give us a like, a comment, and share, and tell your friends about us. We've got Stephen P. New. He's real. He's right there, and he's not Asian. We'll see you all next time.
Hey,